Time flies faster than a speed run. And just like that, another gaming weekend is here and begging for your full attention. This is prime gaming time. But here's where it gets interesting. With so many new releases, updates, and sales, how on earth are you supposed to choose what to play first? Talking point. What are you playing this weekend? November 29th. The end of November has somehow snuck up again, and instead of stressing about how quickly the calendar is filling up, it feels much more fun to focus on one thing. What you are going to play this weekend. Whether you are diving into a long RPG, sampling fresh demos, or just clearing your backlog one boss at a time, this is the perfect moment to plan your gaming prime time. And this is the part most people miss. Simply thinking ahead about what you want to play can actually make your limited free time feel more satisfying. It has been a relatively calm week in the Nintendo universe, but that does not mean it was boring. Nintendo quietly made a big move by bringing Bandai Namco Studios Singapore under its wing as a subsidiary, a decision that could have serious long-term implications for future projects and collaborations. Some people might even see this as yet another sign that major publishers are consolidating too much power. Do you think that is exciting or worrying? On the game side, Hyrule Warriors. Age of Imprisonment received a fresh content update, adding new quests, weapons, and battles to keep action fans busy a little longer. For those who love dipping into retro goodness, 4 additional games arrived for the Nintendo Switch Online NES and Game Boy libraries, expanding the catalog for nostalgic players and curious newcomers alike. And to round things off, the Switch 2 picked up a new system update, complete with extensive patch notes, which is always a good reminder that the platform is still evolving behind the scenes. There were also several notable reviews to check out if you are hunting for your next purchase or just enjoy reading informed opinions. Tomb Raider Definitive Edition landed with a full write-up, giving players a clearer sense of how the classic adventure holds up on modern hardware. On top of that, there were detailed looks at Glory Hunters, Plants vs. Zombies, Replanted, and Morsels, covering everything from nostalgic handheld-style experiences to fresh spins on familiar formulas. But here is where it gets a bit contentious. Do reviews still shape your buying decisions? Or do you mostly rely on streamers, friends, and social media impressions nowadays? But enough about the news, the real question is what everyone is actually playing. Jim Norman, staff writer. For Jim, this is the final quiet weekend before a wave of new releases crashes down. So he is determined to make it count. His main goal is to finish Clair Obscur and squeeze in a few more runs of Absolum, sticking with the same 2 titles that have been occupying his weekends for several weeks in a row. There is something oddly comforting about that level of dedication. Some might even say playing the same games repeatedly instead of sampling everything new is controversial in a world obsessed with constant novelty. Ahead of the upcoming release rush, Jim is already nervously eyeing the list of games he wants to pick up over the next 7 days, mentally balancing his excitement against his wallet. He is trying to enjoy having a bit of spare cash while he still can, but a tempting Black Friday offer on Star Wars Outlaws is seriously testing his resolve. Be honest. Would you hold firm in that situation, or would you cave and grab the deal while it lasts? Ollie Reynolds, staff writer. Ollie is hoping to fire up Outlaws plus handful of missions. Remaster this weekend if time allows, since the game looks incredibly stylish and fun from what has been shown so far. There is something special about revisiting a classic-style shooter or action game with modern polish, especially when a remaster respects the original feel while making it more accessible to new players. Beyond that, Ollie is planning a quick jump back into Metroid Prime Remastered as a warm-up before the 4th entry arrives. Revisiting earlier games in a series before a new installment launches is a ritual for many fans, helping them reconnect with the world, the characters, and the atmosphere. But here is a question that could spark debate. Is replaying old entries essential to fully enjoy a new sequel, or is it perfectly fine to go in fresh and rely on your memory? Goncalo Lopez, contributor. Goncalo realized he had forgotten to mention that last weekend he attended the 10th edition of Lisboa Games Week. As one of Portugal's leading events celebrating video game culture, the show is a fantastic place to reconnect with familiar faces, meet new people, and get hands-on time with upcoming hits before they release. Events like this often remind players that gaming is not just about sitting alone with a console. It is also about community, conversation, and shared excitement. Nintendo went all out this year, hosting its largest show floor to date right at the main entrance, with the Switch 2 section drenched in that unmistakable red branding and almost impossible to overlook. Among the highlights, Goncalo was pleasantly surprised to try demo builds of Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade and Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, both of which ran impressively smoothly on the hardware. Some might argue that bringing such demanding games to this platform is overly ambitious, while others see it as proof that handheld-style consoles are more powerful than ever. Where do you land on that discussion? The main reason Goncalo left home to attend the event, however, was the chance to finally get hands-on with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and he admits he was grinning from ear to ear the entire time. The last main entry in the series released back in 2007, a completely different era in gaming and, for many players, in their personal lives too. With the new release on the horizon, he is clearing his calendar so that from next week onward, it will be all about Samus Aran, even though he is still dealing with a serious case of post-convention blues. His current game of the week is Yakuza Kiwami 2, and he is very realistic about his chances of finishing it before the following week. Essentially 0. That said, he absolutely plans to spend his time redecorating the streets of Kamurocho by taking down every thug foolish enough to give him a dirty look. His advice is clear and playful. If you bet on the Dragon of Dojima, you will never be disappointed, and in his words, you will never be poor again. Kate Gray, contributor. Kate's weekend is looking extremely busy, with very little room left for gaming, because the holiday season has officially begun. On the schedule are a Christmas party, a festive craft market, an entire plan for decorating the house for the holidays, and even a Dungeons & Dragons session that, amusingly, is not Christmas-themed at all. It is a classic example of how real-life commitments can squeeze out gaming time, especially around this time of year. Even so, Kate has not completely stepped away from games, as she recently picked up Outer Worlds 2 in the Steam sale, just as she mentioned she would. The challenge now is finding time to actually start it somewhere between all the Christmas-related activities and social gatherings. This raises a familiar dilemma. Is it better to buy games during big sales even if you do not know when you will play them? Or should you only purchase titles when you are ready to dive in immediately? Gavin Lane, editor. Gavin is still deeply into Shinobi and continues to enjoy every moment with it, showing that a game does not have to be brand new to stay compelling. Meanwhile, the upcoming update for Animal Crossing has inspired him to take a closer look at the state of his in-game museum, turning a casual check-in into a mini-project. It is the kind of quiet, cozy gaming that can be just as satisfying as tackling a massive story-driven epic. In terms of completion, Gavin proudly reports that he is at 100% for bugs, fossils, and fish, but his art gallery tells a different story, sitting at roughly 20% complete. To address this, he has started visiting Red on Harv's Island more frequently, hoping to boost his art collection and finally bring that wing of the museum up to standard. Some players love that long-term, slow-burn collecting grind, while others find it frustrating. Which camp are you in when it comes to in-game completion goals? Beyond that, Gavin is dipping into the Namco DLC for Atari 50, exploring classic titles from another legendary company's history. The kids in his household have also become curious about Katamari Damacy, which means it might be the perfect time for a reroll session full of colorful chaos and delightfully weird vibes. It is a great reminder that gaming can be a family activity, especially when quirky, accessible games are involved. So that is the weekend lineup for this crew. A mix of big events, retro revisits, long-awaited sequels, backlog cleanup, and holiday distractions. Now the spotlight turns to you. What are your weekend gaming plans? Are you focused on one massive title, rotating through several smaller games, or stepping back entirely to enjoy other hobbies before diving back in next week? Before you head off, here is a thought-provoking question. Do you believe gamers should try to keep up with every major new release to stay in the conversation? Or is it perfectly valid, maybe even healthier, to move at your own pace and ignore the hype cycle altogether? Share your answer, your weekend picks, and even your spiciest gaming takes in the comments. And do not be shy if you disagree with any of the choices or priorities mentioned above. After all, friendly disagreement and passionate discussion are half the fun of being part of a gaming community.